Throughout history, there have been names whispered in fear, names that slip past the lips of desperate men and cautious scribes, names that seem to linger long after the torches have burned out and the prayers have fallen silent. Among them stands Bael, a name both ancient and dangerous, a figure whose power lies not in fire or thunder, but in disappearance. Bael is not a demon who wages wars with armies of flame. He does not tear cities from the earth or drown nations in storms. His dominion is far quieter and far more unsettling. He rules the art of absence, the gift of invisibility, not just of the body, but of the soul. To those who called upon him, Bael offered the ultimate escape, the power to be unseen, to slip unnoticed through a world of watchful eyes. But in hell, gifts never come without cost. Today we'll start our series on the 72 spirits of the Ars Goetia, demons listed in the first section of a famous 17th century grimoire called the Lesser Key of Solomon, also known as the Lemegeton. The Ars Goetia is basically a handbook for summoning, commanding, and making pacts with these demonic spirits. The idea behind the Goetia is that King Solomon, the legendary wise king from the Bible, was said to have bound these spirits in a brass vessel using his magical powers and commanded them to serve him. The text later describes how magicians can summon and control these spirits themselves, if they dared. So let's begin. This is the story of Bael, the three-headed veiled king of hell, from the Ars Goetia. Before Bael was known as a king of hell, his name belonged to a very different kind of power. In the ancient world, stretching from the coasts of Phoenicia to the heartlands of Canaan, Baal was a title that commanded reverence. It simply meant Lord, and it was applied to many deities who held dominion over storms, fertility, and rulership itself. These Baals were seen as life-bringers, masters of rain and harvests, protectors of cities. In some regions, Baal was the storm god who defeated chaotic forces to bring order. In others, he was a patron of kingship, a divine judge whose favor could make or break the fate of a people. But history is a battlefield not just of armies, but of beliefs. As monotheistic religions spread across the ancient Near East, the old gods of rival cultures became enemies by association. The Baals, once vital pillars of life and leadership, were condemned as false idols, their temples abandoned, their names darkened. In Christian tradition, Baal was no longer a protector or a giver. He was recast as a deceiver, a spirit who led humanity astray. And so began the long descent, from Lord of the Storm to Lord of Shadows. By the time medieval scholars compiled the grimoires, the dark catalogues of spirits and their attributes, Baal had taken on his now familiar form. In the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum compiled by Johann Weyer, and later echoed in the Ars Goetia, Baal is named among the highest-ranking kings of hell. Not simply a minor trickster or foot soldier, but a monarch commanding 66 legions of infernal spirits. Yet something interesting lingers behind this fall from grace. Even in his demonic reinterpretation, Baal retained the same qualities that once made the Baals powerful: dominion over unseen forces, mastery of hidden knowledge, and a sway over human perception. What shifted was not the essence of Baal's power, but how that power was perceived by those who wrote the new histories. He was no longer a bringer of rain, but a bringer of disappearance. No longer a lord of life, but a king of silence. The world had changed, and Baal had changed with it. But his influence remained. If Baal's fall from ancient lord to infernal king is unsettling, his appearance is even more so. Accounts describe Baal as a being with three heads, each distinct, each unnerving in its own right. The first is the head of a man, angular, watchful, with a cold gaze that pierced your soul. This human face is not warm or familiar. It is stripped of empathy, a cold mirror of reason sharpened by distance and time. The second head is that of a cat, sleek and sharp-eyed. In ancient lore, cats have long been creatures of both mystery and quiet ruthlessness, able to slip unseen where others stumble, able to hunt without pity. Baal's feline aspect captures this spirit. It is the face of silent steps in the dark, of hidden claws waiting just beyond the edge of vision. In it, there is cunning, patience, and the willingness to strike only when the world is most unaware. The third head, the most grotesque, is that of a toad, heavy-lidded, bloated, still. There is no malice in the toad's eyes, only the slow certainty of decay. It is a reminder that time consumes all things, that what goes unseen does not go untouched by the slow erosion of existence. Where the human head watches and the cat plans, the toad simply waits, confident that sooner or later, all things sink into silence. Bael's voice, when it is heard, carries the same qualities as his appearance. It is rough and thick, like stone cracking under pressure, a sound less spoken than forced into being. Those who have claimed to summon him speak of an overwhelming weight in the air, as if the atmosphere itself thickened, making every breath a deliberate effort. Yet Bael rarely speaks. Most often he observes. Summoners have reported an eerie feeling during his presence, the unsettling sensation of being measured, dissected not with malice, but with the cold efficiency of a scholar examining an insect. His attention is not easily won, and once gained offers no comfort. Bael's behavior reflects this nature. He does not lash out in anger, nor does he flatter those who stand before him. He does not waste energy on threats, nor does he boast of his power. There is no pageantry to his arrival, no spectacle to announce his presence. He simply is, silent, steady, immovable. He does not lie, but truth from Bael is not easily earned. It comes in glimpses, in half-truths, in hints that must be pieced together with patience and care. His riddles are not designed to deceive. They are reflections of a mind that no longer feels the need to explain itself to creatures so fleeting as men. To stand before Bael is to understand that power does not always roar. Sometimes it simply watches and waits. Those few who approached Bael correctly, who spoke his names of power with the right blend of authority and respect, sometimes received what they asked for, the terrible, wondrous gift of absence. But they would do well to remember that Bael, once summoned, is never truly gone. His presence lingers. In the chaotic court of hell, where power often flaunts itself in violent shows of dominance, Bael's influence is different. It is quieter, more precise, yet no less commanding. Chief among Bael's gifts is the ability to grant invisibility, not the kind of invisibility conjured by sleight of hand or clever distraction, but something deeper, more profound. Those who receive Bael's favor do not simply vanish from sight. Instead, they are slipped into a space between awareness and forgetfulness, becoming shadows that the eye glances over without recognition. Even the mind resists remembering them. It is as if the very presence of the individual grows thin, ghost-like, impossible to pin down. It is a power that offers incredible advantage. A thief could move through guarded halls as if the sentries were blind. A fugitive could pass unnoticed through a city at high noon. An enemy could sit among a rival's council and hear every whispered scheme without raising a single suspicion. Yet Bael's invisibility is never total in the way a mortal mind might imagine. It does not erase the body from existence. It erodes attention. It clouds memory. It makes a man into something the world does not notice until it is far too late. Beyond invisibility, Bael grants access to hidden knowledge. His wisdom runs through the deep roots of the world. Knowledge not written in books or taught in courts, but resting in the silent spaces between actions and consequences. Those who ask the right questions might receive glimpses, sudden flashes of understanding, intuitions that connect what was once hidden. But Bael rarely gives full answers. Instead, he offers fragments, pieces of truth glimpsed as though through thick glass. His knowledge must be pieced together carefully. Impatience leads not to revelation, but to ruin. In this, Bael tests not just the summoner's will, but their wisdom. Bael's authority is not merely theoretical. According to the grimoires, he commands 66 legions of spirits, an army vast enough to sway battles, topple cities, and whisper revolutions into motion. Yet Bael does not dispatch them recklessly. Where other kings of hell might flood a battlefield with horrors, Bael's forces move like shadows, manipulating events without ever revealing themselves. He is a master not of destruction, but of distortion. A king whose greatest victories are never recorded, because the victims never knew they had lost until it was far too late. For those who sought to escape notice, who dreamed of moving unseen through the dangerous games of mortal life, Bael offered a temptation few could resist. But like all gifts drawn from infernal courts, the price was never truly explained. And those who relied too heavily on Bael's power often found that the world forgot them entirely, not as a matter of protection, but as a natural consequence of becoming invisible, even to the forces that once sustained their lives. Freedom, it turned out, could become another kind of prison, and Bael, silent as ever, would watch it unfold without lifting a finger. Hey everyone, just a quick intermission here. I wanted to say thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Did you know that over 80% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel? If you've enjoyed this content so far, it would be incredible if you could hit that subscribe button. It's a small gesture, but it really helps the channel grow and ensures that you won't miss any more of our fascinating stories we explore together. Also, if you're feeling generous, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share with anyone else who may enjoy it. Your support really does make a difference and keeps the content coming. Thanks again, and let's get back to the story. In the ancient texts that survived fire, war, and centuries of fear, the instructions for summoning Bael are laid out with a kind of cold precision. They are not dramatic. They do not shout warnings. They simply state the requirements, as if assuming that anyone foolish enough to attempt it already understood the risks. The first necessity is a circle of protection. This is not optional. The summoner must inscribe it with exact symbols of divine authority, names of power older than the spirit itself. It is not drawn hastily in chalk or scrawled in the dirt. It must be made with care, with intention, and with reverence for the unseen forces it is meant to invoke. The circle is the only barrier between the mortal and the ancient weight of Bael's presence. Without it, the summoner risks being not attacked, but forgotten. The consequences of an unprotected meeting with Bael are not screams and torn flesh. They are worse. They are silence. A slow fading from memory until even loved ones no longer remember the name of the one who dared call beyond their place. The summoner must carry Bael's sigil, an intricate winding mark traced exactly according to the grimoires. Even a small error in its form is said to sever the connection, or worse, invite a different spirit entirely. One less patient, less restrained. Incense fills the air. Frankincense and myrrh are favored, both ancient gifts offered to kings and gods alike. The smoke does not please Bael. It does not bribe him. It simply thins the boundary between seen and unseen, making the world porous enough for his presence to slip through. Timing matters just as much as ritual. Bael's influence is strongest during the planetary hour of Saturn, the time ruled by death, endings, and cold inevitability. Saturn governs the hidden things of the world, secrets buried beneath stone, destinies that move unseen through human lives. To summon Bael at any other hour is to risk being unheard, or worse, being heard too late, after another spirit has answered in his place. And when all is prepared, when the circle is strong, the sigil perfect, the smoke thick, the hour struck, the summoner must call Bael's name. Not with fear, not with arrogance, but with authority. Bael, like all true kings, respects power. He will not answer a beggar's plea. He will not bargain with uncertainty. His name must be spoken with the confidence of one who understands exactly what they are risking and is willing to pay the price. Those who summon him correctly often describe a sudden change in the air, a thickening, a quiet folding of sound around them. It is not always marked by visions or blinding light. Sometimes there is only stillness, a stillness so complete that it feels as though the entire world holds its breath. And then, the presence. Not loud, not violent, just there, watching. There are no guarantees that Bael will speak. Often, he simply observes. If the summoner shows weakness, the connection frays. If they demand too much, it severs entirely. But if the summoner holds steady, if they respect the ancient laws and the silent currents of the invisible, Bael may grant his gift. Yet even those who succeeded reported something unsettling afterward, a feeling that they were never truly alone again. Bael's name rarely appears in the great sweeping legends of demonology. He is not the villain who lays waste to cities, nor the tempter who openly mocks the saints. His influence moves more quietly, felt more in what is missing than what is left behind. Old grimoires hint at fragments of stories, pieces of forgotten histories where Bael's shadow may have passed unnoticed. Some speak of kings who vanished without explanation on the eve of battle, commanders who, in their final desperate moments, invoked forbidden names for deliverance. Their enemies found empty tents, abandoned thrones, battlefields strangely quiet. Their armies, leaderless, crumbled without a single blade drawn. In medieval France, faded scrolls mention court advisors whose presence was so muted, so unnervingly absent, that few could recall what they looked like even moments after speaking to them. It was said that these unseen hands guided kingdoms through civil wars and betrayals, whispering counsel that no one could trace. Victories were won without explanation. Rivals fell into ruin without knowing who had struck the first blow. Some of these anonymous figures were said to have called upon Bael, not for conquest, not for glory, but for the one advantage no earthly army could defend against: the power to move without being seen, without being remembered, until the work was done. But the stories do not end there. There are cautionary tales as well, quiet tragedies, often told not in the halls of scholars, but around the flickering fires of rural villages. One such tale speaks of a nobleman who, fearing assassination, sought Bael's gift to slip unseen among his enemies. The ritual succeeded. For months, he moved like a ghost among those who plotted his death. He heard their secrets, thwarted their plans, and tightened his grip on power. But slowly, the cost became clear. His servants began to forget his voice. His wife forgot his touch. His children, once joyful at his return, began to look through him as if he were a stranger. Invisibility was not a cloak he could remove. It became part of him. And in the end, the man found himself standing alone in his own hall, forgotten even by the walls that once echoed his name. There are no triumphant endings in Bael's tales. No dramatic downfall, no fiery punishment, only silence, and the slow, inevitable unraveling of memory. It is this silent legacy that makes Bael's influence so difficult to trace and so chilling to contemplate. His victories are marked not by ruins or monuments, but by empty spaces where names should have been, by histories missing their authors, by songs that were never written because no one remembered the singer. In the forgotten corners of human history, Bael still moves, quiet, patient, unseen. Beneath the legends and the ritual instructions, Bael's story carries a weight that reaches beyond the borders of demonology. It touches something older, something still alive in the human heart. The desire to be unseen, to slip through danger without drawing attention, to move through life without fear of judgment or harm, is a desire as ancient as civilization itself. It speaks to the vulnerability of being known, the risk inherent in standing where others can see you, envy you, betray you. In Bael, that yearning is given form, and it is made into something dangerously attainable. At first glance, invisibility feels like freedom. To move unnoticed is to be untouchable. But Bael's gift is not merely a shield, it is a separation. The longer one remains unseen, the farther they drift, not only from danger, but from connection, from belonging, from the fragile threads that tie one life to another. Bael's three faces mirror this fragmentation. The human head, a symbol of reason and identity, fades when it no longer receives recognition. Without others to reflect it back, the sense of self begins to erode, slowly but surely. The cat's head, sleek and secretive, represents the isolation of independence taken too far. Freedom without companionship, survival without trust. It is a creature that can move alone through the world, but at the cost of ever truly belonging to it. The toad, heavy and still, is the final state. Decay not just of the body but of presence itself. The slow, inevitable forgetting that waits for all things left unacknowledged for too long. Bael's symbolism is not just a warning against pride or ambition, as many demonological tales are. It is a reflection on the human need to be seen, to be remembered, to matter. And it is a reminder that to erase oneself from the gaze of others is to risk erasing oneself from existence entirely. This is why Bael remains one of the most unsettling spirits catalogued in the grimoires. His power is not violent. It does not destroy cities or corrupt kings through temptation. It offers a quieter path, a path where you get exactly what you asked for. And only after do you realize that it cost you everything you never thought you could lose. To call upon Bael is to gamble with your own existence, not in fire or fury, but in silence. And silence, once it closes in, rarely lets go.